Javon Taylor, CEO, founder of False Ego. With False Ego, the whole goal is to use physical products to support environmental initiatives. So right now, we support reforestation efforts, methane recapture efforts, water cleanups. We're actually doing a pretty big project right now with the National Wildlife Federation, and we're looking to replace a lot of the concrete in the Five Points area with like native trees and plants. But the origin story of it, I think it was around a time when I was looking to kind of just find out who Javon was. I just finished up college, finished up basketball, and was doing my internship, and it was kind of like starting to get into graphic designing and wanted to really make a dynamic company. I was really inspired by a company called Broccoli City Festival, which is a festival based out of DC, and they have a bunch of really cool things going on, but they have a music festival, but outside of that, they give a platform to local retailers, local artists, local vegan food truck, etc. And then they kind of made a dynamic platform where they were able to build like community gardens. They were able to dive into a broccoli bar, which is like a small grocery store inside inner city DC. They had all these different branches, and I was like, that is amazing. I want to like create a company like that. And like I said, at the time I was also graphic designing, so I was like, how can I create a brand? And the goal was to make the most influential clothing brand ever. We're going to educate you also on why fashion is the #2 pollutant in the world. You know, behind gas and oil, and educate people on like why it's important to buy sustainable fabrics. Not only is it better for the earth, but it lasts longer. Clothing being the #2 polluter, I think the biggest reason why that is, it goes beyond just like the trash materials we make our clothing out of, but the consumer portion of it. Like I think one of the biggest reasons why it's the #2 polluter is because of the waste. You know, I think they said the average American throws away 80 pounds of clothing a year, which is ridiculous to start out with, but a lot of their clothing are like polyester materials or like blended fabrics, which take hundreds of years to deteriorate inside the landfills. When they do deteriorate, they're letting off, you know, CO2 gas or emissions into our atmosphere. And a lot of people don't really understand that. I think another thing you would add to the sustainability of fashion is the ethics that the companies hold themselves to, as far as like the exploitation of workers. A lot of people also don't understand that, you know, these clothing that you're wearing, yeah, you get a JCPenney or you get a Macy's and it costs $20, but the reason that they're able to sell it that cheap is because they didn't pay their workers to, you know, make that product properly. And then when you think of the workers in general, they're mostly women, young women who are being denied education so they can make your clothing. With our garments, we use Pima cotton. So Pima cotton allows us to recycle it. So say you buy a shirt and 2 years from now you don't want it anymore, you can send it directly back to us. We have a recycling company that breaks it down to its raw material and then turns it air insulation for buildings and homes. It's been cool. I think there's not a lot of representation, especially in the environmental or like eco-friendly realm. So I think it's been cool to kind of be the face of that here in Denver. I think also it's been important for False Ego to, as we do succeed and move forward and progress, to bring a ladder with us. You know, how do we give a platform to other minority-owned businesses or minority artists in the city? And that's essentially what our store is. You know, of course we have our stuff along the wall and towards the middle of the store, but everywhere else are local vendors. We have about 8 different vendors, about 9 different artists, all represented in about 1,800 square feet. And it's kind of like a co-op, and that's kind of our ladder, where of course we have our platform where we're sharing that. And I think that goes on to defining sustainability for False Ego. It's like sustainability goes beyond just maintaining Earth's resources, and how do you maintain talent in your community? How do you create ecosystems within your community? And I think that's what False Ego is. I think me growing up in Denver, I didn't feel like there was a lot of resources or tools for us as minorities or just in general to, you know, really build. And I think that's why a lot of people feel like they have to go to LA or New York or Chicago or all these bigger markets to fulfill their dreams, because there aren't resources here. And I think that's what we're looking to build. Yeah, I think that's sustainability. A lot of people might not see your vision, but sometimes you gotta give it to them. You know, I think me starting out, a lot of people didn't like, oh, like they didn't know what I was doing. They were just like, you know, I went from just being this basketball player to starting an eco-friendly clothing brand, and you know, a lot of people didn't really see where I was going, but I had the vision. It's like now that people have a store and I'm doing all these things, different partnerships, different people, then it's like now they get it, or they're starting to get it. I would also say, you know, like I said earlier, kind of bring that ladder with you as you succeed, you know, because there's other people just look just like you and want to be just like you that, you know, could use your platform as well. And I think there's enough cake for all of us to eat.